All right, album review time for Blue Lips by ScHoolboy Q, and I'm gonna do something that I don't think I've ever done before. I want to read a comment that was left on the reaction video because I think it's very well done. It's written up by Emily. Thank you, Emily, for posting this. Because specifically, I struggled with trying to figure out the meaning of this album, and you all saw me wrestle with it, and digging as hard as I could to try and find that really hidden layer of the theme through the album. And after reading Emily's comment, I was like, oh, yeah, it almost feels obvious, which made me feel stupid for not really getting it. Although I was kind of a little close, but not quite. Here's what she wrote up. Blue Lips is the story of Q's relationship to his music, specifically him realizing that he needed to get sober in order to level up as an artist. His last album, Crash Talk, did not do that well compared to his previous work. And his close friend, Mac Miller, who Blue Slides, people told me about that. I was even told about that before the album. Listen, and I still forgot to mention Blue Slides and that little nod to Mac Miller there. His close friend, Mac Miller, died of an overdose not long before that album came out. Blue Lips tells the story of Q's spiral of self-doubt as an artist, substance abuse, and depression following the death of his friend and relative flop of Crash Talk. The women mentioned in the many tracks are metaphor for his music. In the beginning of the album, he's chasing women, i.e. uninspired radio hits. He then begins to doubt himself as an artist. The anxiety creeps in. He tries to quell it by flexing his monetary success, but it doesn't work. His spiral culminates on Nunu, where he literally sounds like he's drowning, which I totally agree with. That was something I said on the reaction. It sounded like he was just drowning at the end of that track. Then we get a huge tone shift with Back in Love, which is Q getting his life together, falling back in love with his music. The remaining tracks have a tone of optimism and self-assuredness. He now feels more confident in his artistry. Bravo. Fucking... And it's great because that whole bit, I really like the idea of the women being chased, serving as a metaphor for the idea of uninspired radio hits. Now, who knows how accurate Emily is in that description of the album? I think it's pretty well done. But who knows? I haven't interviewed ScHoolboy Q, so I'm sure there's other things that are true or not true or whatever. But the idea of chasing uninspired radio hits. This is something that we see all the time in music discussion, right? Good music versus the mainstream garbage, right? We see it all the time. With this album, I was really trying to... I had a difficult time with the album this week, not because I didn't enjoy it. I really enjoy it. I think it's excellent, honestly. But I was trying to figure out, why? What is it about this album that makes me enjoy it so much? I think first off, it's a little sneaky in how good it is. I remember after my fourth or fifth listen or something like that, I was thinking, these are all great songs, consistently really good songs. And so there was no lows. But then I was also thinking, there wasn't really a song for me personally that jumps way out in front of the others, like a hit type of a thing. And so for a while I was thinking, it's just this just solid, consistent band of tracks. And I was laughing at myself for almost thinking, well, maybe that's a negative, right? There's no highs and lows. It's too consistent, which is clearly ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. But sometimes when you get into these new albums you haven't heard for at all, and you're trying to find your own footing and what you enjoy about it, maybe what you're not too into, etc. The first thing to really latch onto are those highs and those lows. It's easy to find those spots. Oh, I really love this song. Oh, this one's not that great. I skip it. No skips for me on this album. No skips. Top to bottom, all the way through. Great listen. Another thing that I was kind of realizing, but I couldn't really put into terms, was when I listen to Blue Lips, I feel like I feel when I listen to something like Kid A or Amnesiac by Radiohead. And for those of you who don't listen to Radiohead, this might not translate that well, but those two albums I've always really, really enjoyed. And I could never really explain why, other than they're just really cool albums. I probably, between the two of them, I probably couldn't name 5 songs off of them. And I don't care, because each album is just its own thing in its own unique, specific kind of way. And it's cool because on those two albums, there's songs in there that, like, some of them aren't even necessarily songs. They're just kind of sounds that bleed into the next track, and then you just kind of keep going. And not that Blue Lips is like that, but the album for me, it runs that way, where the production, like each specific track, feels like its own little micro universe. The production's excellent. Let me bring up my notes. I did see a couple clips, interviews, and one of them it was Q talking about how he approaches things as a producer first. And I think with Blue Lips, that shines through 100%. For me, each track, the production just sounds great. It doesn't sound forced. It doesn't sound, I don't want to say contrived or conventional, but it just sounds like somebody really did take their time putting it all together, rather than just kind of slap it together. Okay, it sounds cool, great. Now go, rap on top of it. Each track has like its own little texture, and I think a lot of it plays into the sample usage. There's some really neat samples that are used in a peculiar way at certain times, like first that sample that's being used throughout that one. There's the other one, I forget which track it is. Maybe it's Faux, where it's a sample where they're talking about the fire shooting around in the sky, and these people really ain't playing. They ain't playing. These people ain't playing. That's another interesting sample. Another one where like the song is a little upbeat, but at the end it just like the sample cuts in and it's just that pain everyone experiences. Just wild little things that come in and shake the song up. It makes it its own experience. I totally forgot my train of thought, my point with that, but it's really just each track's ability to be its own little experience and then somehow tether on to the next one and keep that ride going, man. I mean, it's 18 songs, 56 minutes, and it just feels, it is its own little ride. And what's neat, too, is after reading Emily's idea about the album, what it is, a lot of it started to click for me. A lot of it started to make more sense. But before I had seen that comment, I thought to myself, I'm probably overthinking it. I get so hung up on the idea of an album having a theme and really pushing this theme. And I was really focused more on like the Blue Lips thing and the idea of being speechless and all that. And so I could never really tie that concept. I could never find that concept from the album. And then I thought, it doesn't matter. It's okay if an album doesn't have this broader theme that is woven throughout each song, which has put me in that category of Kid A Amnesiac, because I love both those albums, and it just felt like that. Sorry, my throat is not wanting to stay clear. But then tying it all together with the idea of pursuing music that you care about. Not uninspired radio hits, but quality art, quality music. ScHoolboy's performance is fantastic, as always. His variety, the vocal variety is all over the place. Sometimes there's a lot of energy, like on Pop. Him and Rico Nasty both are just giving the track hell. But then they slows, and Yearn's another one was really cracking off a little bit. But then he chills out, too. Time Killers, I think, is one. Or maybe it's Lost Times. Actually, it might be both. He serves the song so well, both vocally and then, too, in the production. And that sounds probably a little ridiculous because you got to start somewhere. And so how do you serve the song if the song doesn't exist? But much like he paired so well with his vocal performance and the production that existed on Blank Face, which is the only other album I've heard, so I'm not a ScHoolboy Q expert at all. It's the same thing happening here. But it feels a little more, I want to say, like refined down, more like an aged wine a bit. I love Blank Face because it's just like, it feels like a metal album. It's got all this energy and all this just rampaging going on inside of it. This doesn't have that. It's settled down a little bit. The energy is still there. The performance is still there. But there's less like flailing about. It's a little bit more focused and distilled down. Yeah. Good shit, man. Good shit. It's a really cool album. And it's fun because every time I listen to it, no, I like it a little bit more. And a little bit more. I actually had to take a break because of the weekend. I listened to it like 2 or 3 times on Friday, and then I was away for a couple of days. And sometimes that's nice to do because you come back thinking, okay, how's my opinion going to shift after a couple of days off from listening to it? And it's like, no, this is just fucking cool. It's cool. And it's, to me, it's exceptionally cool in the sense of here's somebody whose goal was to make some great music. I'm going to focus on just great music. Fuck it being structured in a conventional way. Who cares if it's going to be a hit on the radio or not? I just want to make something I care about. And that is what Blue Lips does. There you go. There's my review of Blue Lips. Fantastic album. Hello, Kitty. Are you here to help with the review? Kitty. Hi. Yeah. Anyway, I guess this will conclude the album since I'm being so rudely interrupted by Kitty. Huh. You want to say anything into the microphone? Are you shy? Tomorrow will be another reaction. I have not decided which, and I'm going to keep it a secret for now. Yes. 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 Okay, y'all. Take care. We'll see you soon.